Hey guys, and welcome to the Functional Fitness Podcast. I'm Graham and
I'm Jonny. So today we're going to discuss the challenges that we have faced through COVID. So there's been numerous stuff out there all about this. I feel we're a little bit late to the party, but I think we wanted to kind of ride it out and actually see what occurred and actually see how this went down. So we're going to go through functional fitnesses, sort of troubles. We're going to go through things like our reaction, what we did, etc. How we see ourselves coming back in, and all the rest of it. So where do we start?
So the reaction to today's announcement. Today, our First Minister never gave us another date to reopen, sadly. Difficult one to take.
Yeah, annoying, because it just, if you're sitting on the fence the whole time, then it's kind of like you're just waiting. Like, if you're not going to get a date, then you can't really plan for anything. So I think the situation we're in right now is that we're just kind of seeing how it goes.
Yeah, this is a really difficult point because we have fully written a booklet of directions that may or may not be correct, depending on what is given to us. And I think quite often there's every other person will ask me, have you guys heard anything about when gyms are open? But there isn't a secret line of connection that we have to the Scottish Government. We literally sit and watch what Sturgeon says.
The same way as everyone else does.
And then make a plan based on that.
Yeah.
Or we try and get ahead of the game and do what we have been doing and write a document with what we believe to be the best procedures and hope that every time on a Thursday she comes on and says we can open.
And she tells us we can open, yeah. I mean, I think what we've tried to do is be as proactive as possible. So I suppose many of you are probably been wondering, like, what on earth have we been doing during this time? And that, a big part of what we've been doing in the background is kind of getting everything ready to rock and roll. First of all, keeping things afloat, managing things in the background, and like I said, then making this plan. So unfortunately, getting no date again, it does put us in a troubling spot. But what I will say is that, like, I think we wanted to jump on this and kind of communicate that to you guys because we felt like it's good to have that line of communication open. It's only if we had that from the government too. That'd be lovely.
You're right. However, there's not much we can do about that just now. So what we're going to chat about today was, firstly, talk about that reaction. But if we go right way back to the start of lockdown, we're going to start there and come all the way to look forward to getting open to today. So when lockdown started, I'm fairly sure the Friday before that was announced, I was still adamant that this was completely fake news and that I was going to be here on Monday regardless, because definitely that's what I was going to do. Because I needed to, for whatever reason, I needed to come here and earn money. So, but that never happened. And we closed.
I think I was of the other kind of mindset. I was a little bit more worried about it. I don't know if that's kind of, I mean, it has been really bad, I guess. So, like, without being too kind of controversial, I guess, it definitely is something. Let's just say that for the record. But it's, it seems to be on its way out now. Hopefully, we don't get a second wave or anything like that. And for me in lockdown, I can't even remember where I was. But heard about lockdown, and then it was like all systems go. Like, okay, we've got to shut down. And in that moment, you start thinking, holy crap, like, what on earth do you do? Like, what? Because at that point in time, I don't think there were any provisions made. There was no announcement in terms of any help. So you're literally just told that you cannot operate, and you're like, wow, okay, great. I have no way of earning money right now.
Close the doors, see what happens. Which is a frightening thing for us. When you know what your expenditure as a business is, and you know what you're currently making, and you think, right, okay, this it was sort of balancing somewhat, and then to be told that you have to close, you have to stop operating, it's then, right, kick into action. What are we going to do? How are we going to service our members? How are we going to try and keep them? So,
and of course, like, as well as that, you got to imagine, I mean, lots of you run businesses, so you'll understand. And I want to say as well, like, that we were talking about how tough it was for us. Like, we understand completely that it was tough for everybody in many different ways. Things like not being able to see your family, It's very, very hard. If people are shielding, that's even harder. And then, of course, those of you again that run businesses, or maybe you felt the sting because the business that you work for has kind of gone through what we were literally about to talk about, which is kind of not being able to earn nearly as much money as you were. And the first thought when you close down is like, well, how on earth am I going to pay the bills? Because you've got your rent, you've got your electricity bills, you've got everything that you need to pay for. So I think the first thing that we did was take a second and look at what goes out, and then what could be put on hold or stopped. That was the first.
You're right. So yeah, we did that. We looked at all the bills that we could stop paying for a while. We looked at how are we going to service our members best.
Yep.
And we come out with a fair plan, and Fraser did quite a lot of that. And was really organised in setting that up. And we're going to talk about that in just a little while. But lockdown hit, and then immediately the cancellations started rolling in.
Yeah.
So overnight, we lost 50% of our membership.
It was quite a lot, quite fast.
So we went from something like 480 or so
Ish, yeah.
to about 260 overnight. And then further down, so in Dundee, we had some like 289 in Dundee. We are now at 100.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So we've taken quite a big toll. St Andrews actually held on to a lot bit longer, members than Dundee did. And it's when you see these numbers, it's quite easy to strike the fear of God into you. And maybe sometimes the concept might have been, you're going to get government grants, it's going to be all right. Well, actually, our government grant covers the wages for 1 month. We're now 5 months in. Yeah. And yes, we're lucky to be here, but we've had to take all the bounce back loans to the maximum possible so that we can just be open and keep servicing our members. Yeah,
I mean, everything when lockdown came and we're forced to close the doors, and you need to take a minute as well. By the way, like there was this didn't happen, like we didn't kind of spring into high gear kind of immediately. There's this kind of moment of like, what the hell is happening? And then there's that kind of almost like stages of grief. Do you know what I mean? So like you go through like the worry phase, you're like, shit, what do I do? And then all this kind of stuff. Anyway, we got through to the point where we're right, center ourselves, let's see where we're at, establish what the situation is, apply for all the things like the bounce back loans. So all the kind of like the banks actually been really good and stuff like that. So get all that stuff in, and then you kind of have this plan set. Now the problem we've got, of course, that as time goes in, Graham said there that we're 5 months in or whatever. Is it 5 months?
Yeah, well, so we're going into the
fifth month. Jeez, okay. So that deep into it, and naturally, and again, it's by the way, like if you're watching this and you've put your membership on hold or cancelled, like we're not having a go at you. Like we understand the many reasons why you might have to go and do that. And again, fair play, it's totally fine. Again, we understand. But when you see those come in and you're like, crap, right, okay. And Greg is our admin guy. He's been doing a fantastic job in the background, kind of dealing with everything. We get a report from Greg every week as to like the cancellations and any new that's coming in. It's quite a frightening thing to see that every single week you kind of get more and more. But again, we have the plan in place. And we are close to getting open, and because we're sat here in the building, we're still here, which is good.
Yep. So I guess that kind of kicks us into what did we do? Yeah. We did so many things. First things first. It was the Saturday and the Sunday before lockdown. On the Monday, we wanted to say, right, guys, we've got the ways that we can keep you moving. We've got all the things that are not nailed down to the walls or whatever. Let's give them out. Yep. Let's give them out now. I know definitely there's other gyms in Scotland that rented things out for a lot of money. I'm on about a lot of money, and that was not something that we wanted to do. Yeah. We felt that we wanted to give these out, and in the hope that they would keep their membership just a little bit longer than they might have done. Yep. and maybe hopefully that worked, or maybe it never. I think because of the uniqueness of the scenario, we never really knew how it was going to phase out. But first thing we did was give every member we possibly could a piece of kit, and that way we could then give them some exercise to facilitate their goals while at home using that piece of kit.
Yep. That's where Zoom came in. So Zoom's been good in terms of being able to deliver, I suppose, what we deemed to be our new class type. That was like our new kind of class thing, and that's how that kind of went down. We also did the groups as well. So we also, each coach took a group of members, and the idea behind that was to kind of have that point of contact, whereby if anyone had any problems, troubles, whatever, questions, that they could go to that person. But also, like, you create like this little community within your group, whether it be on like Facebook or whether it be on WhatsApp or whatever it was that we're using.
Yep. So we've also used the groups for an enhanced member service. So we figured that by doing Zoom classes alone, it wouldn't really cut the mustard, really. So what we needed to do was enhance our service to each individual member by putting them in a group with an assigned coach, meaning that they've got a point of contact for the coach to reach out to them on a weekly basis and see how you're going, to chat with them on a monthly basis, either on Zoom or over the phone or however they wanted that to work. So that they could take part in group challenges, like we have run some successful ones, like there was a couple of step ones did really well. The Tour de Fife one, that was really good. That was really good, yeah. Because that was a variety of things that were involved.
You did everything. You did something every day, which was quite good.
Some really, really good things, but it's quite difficult to keep that up there and the engagement up there all the time.
I think it certainly is, yeah. And like, as the longer it goes, the harder that became, I think. And I think for many different reasons. I think that people, for example, as time went on, more people kind of started going back to work in their various different sort of sectors and job roles, whatever. And that was something that maybe then where the engagement during the day was quite high, that it would tail off. You wouldn't have people kind of always being able to message back or whatever. So you saw the engagement maybe drop off a little bit. Definitely time's been a factor there, but also like I think just the general kind of mental state of everybody has probably just started to kind of like slowly go down as time goes on. The kind of willingness to really want to go and do stuff and do another run, challenge or something like that when you're kind of not feeling it because it's been so many weeks that you've been cooped up in your house. Completely understandable.
Yeah, very, very difficult, and it's kind of come to that point where you've got kind of different categories of people. So like the people who are so invested mentally into fitness and health that they will keep going. No matter what. There could be a full-on zombie apocalypse, and they are still exercising and turn up for Zoom class.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
but that's kind of almost feels like it's a minority, really.
Yeah.
Then you've got like your broader spectrum of people that are somewhere in the middle, and that and I would class myself as in the middle, where I actually would really like to keep exercising, but there was no separation in life. You're working, living, looking after your children, cooking meals, schooling, and trying to do all of this in the same room, sometimes simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's
like the place where you chill, and the place where you chill is not the place where you exercise. That's why people go to gyms, because then it's the purposeful action of going to a gym that does that. And the other thing I suppose that like I would say is that in my sort of situation, living with Naomi's mum and dad at the minute, like I'm lucky enough now to have a garden, which I don't have normally, and the garden was the place that we would go to exercise. So like you would be out of that space, you'd be outside if the weather's good, and that's the thing. If it starts peeing it down or whatever, you're like, well, I could work out in the rain, but I don't really want to.
You could sit inside of a beer. It's 3 o'clock. Why not?
Freaking obvious which one I'm doing.
Well, this is the very difficult thing, and this. Okay, things were slightly different for me. Had a baby during lockdown, But for the first 8 weeks, so we had our baby about a week into lockdown, a week and a bit into lockdown. For the first 8 weeks, my life was all about, right, let's make sure that Sammy has nothing to do. She literally has to sleep, feed, sleep, feed, sleep, feed. And I'll do all the rest. So boys, making sure all the 3 boys were fed, making sure all the cleaning was done, making sure all the cooking was done so that there was good quality food going into Sammy for feeding the baby. Very, very loads and loads of other challenging things. But could I have found half an hour to exercise? You're absolutely right, I could. But did I choose to do it? Absolutely not. So I totally understand how loads and loads of people have fallen off the wagon, and then kind of what we're seeing now is the whole trickle effect of like they kind of initially wanted to help us out. Stay a member, help us out.
For which we're eternally grateful for, by the way.
Unbelievable, by the way, guys.
That's why we're still here.
Put it this way, if everybody that has kind of cancelled or held had done that on day one, we wouldn't be here now. We would be going to find another job or something
be in a lot of trouble.
along that. It may still happen, but we'll be here for one more month before that happens.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, but a lot of people kind of stayed for as long as they could, but I've started to realise, actually, you know what? I'm going to come back when we get to the gym, but I'm going to try and save that cash for now, and I'm going to cancel, which is hit us with another wave, and it's kind of a trickle sort of effect. It's like, you know, every further month and kind of payment cycle that goes on, we start to see more and more and more, which is, again, it's very, very sad for us. I mean, but we can only plan with what we've got. Yeah. So what we're now thinking is, right, okay, so we did all these things. It probably didn't go as well as we would hope. So if we combine all the things that we did there, you know, we're looking at class participation now. It's not really amazing. It's not, you know, compared to what we would have in the gym. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's way off.
And I think there's probably a number of reasons for that. I think that, you know, when first of all, if you sign up to a gym where you have to go there and then you exercise with a coach sort of in person, and you've got other people and you've got the atmosphere. When you are then forced to no longer do that, and kind of like we've talked about, it's like exercise possibly in the same room that you live in, possibly the same room that you sleep in as well. That's not what you signed up for. You signed up to be in the presence of people, the presence of the coach, the atmosphere, etc. And you know, so it's probably Zoom classes were probably the obvious decision to make. Yes. I think, and by the way, I think they have their place. Just maybe not, you know, looking back at things now, it would have been like, what else could, you know, the question I asked myself was like, what else could we have done? And like, knowing that we're almost there, it's almost like, what do we do? Or like, you know, how, basically you look back at it now and you go, right, okay, how did that fare? And if you look at the retention figures, super low, you ask yourself,
could you have done better?
Could you have done better? What would people have wanted more? And I know that, like, you know, I listen to a buttload of podcasts, probably too many for one good, and you start to hear about what other gyms have done, what other organisations have done in this time. And like I say, when you in the kind of when it's right at the beginning and there's like this sort of mass panic and stuff like that, you do look to your peers for like, right, okay, what are they doing? Right, they're doing Zoom classes. Okay, cool. We should probably do Zoom classes because that makes sense. Because a coach can do it, they can still correct movement. It kind of makes sense. People can do it from their home. So that's a thing. I think the groups, I feel, were a really good idea. I think they've been harder to manage as time has gone on. I think that, you know, depending on the type of people that you have in them, and I'm not slagging anyone off, I'm just saying the type of people you might have in your group, and also the type of person you are, can make that difficult. You know, engagement isn't always great sometimes, or maybe the engagement was amazing, but why was that good and why was that bad? It's a hard one to break down. I think that giving the kit out was a fantastic move. I was really happy with the way that panned out, because it gave someone who would have been stuck with nothing or a really awkward like kettle or something, you know, maybe give them a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a piece of kit, which has been really good. My thoughts are that could we have done more? Should we have done more? What do you think?
So very, very difficult. I look at the way things have gone, and I think we have given it our best effort. And, you know, there's a whole bunch, you know, the whole team have done really well in doing exactly what everything they could.
And that is absolutely, you've just touched on that, which we've not even spoken about, which is the team. Amazing. The guys have been amazing. Like, so if the guys watch this, thank you, seriously. I don't think words can quite explain how good a job we feel you've done. I feel like we've tried to tell them, but probably a good idea to do it publicly as well. And yeah, the guys have, they've been taking the classes, they've been, managing their own group as well. Brilliant, right?
Yeah, bringing it. The consistency, the willingness to go above and beyond, where necessary. We've even had kind of people come at us and say, we'll coach for free when we come back and things like that. All this sort of stuff is fantastic. We could never actually do that, but
no.
It's been really appreciated. But unfortunately, just like every other business, we're running at a loss.
Yep.
We are running at a severe loss at the minute.
Yep.
That we hope to rectify whenever we get open.
Yep.
But we've kind of come to this realization that, actually, through the way that we run our business, it's not as efficient as it could be.
No.
All in all, we feel that maybe in terms of the ultimate fitness message, we feel like we're driving one, but sometimes it's quite difficult to replicate that when we all don't work under the same banner.
Yep.
So something that we've decided on moving forward is that we're going to all work under one banner. So we are all going to be part of the functional fitness group as a whole.
Yep.
Meaning that we can standardize procedures, we can make sure that our clients, whether that be individualized programming clients, whether it be PT clients, they will all get a better service because we're changing all the processes and how we run.
Yep.
It's all going to be billed centrally. Everyone's going to kind of be, all our clients will pay the same way. Everyone will pay the same price. There's no grandfathered rates. There's no mucking about there. Equality, fairness,
yep.
and a standardized service across the board.
Yep.
Meaning that your trainer gets sick, another trainer steps in. You don't miss out.
Yep.
Your trainer goes on holiday, you go on holiday. You still get serviced in every way possible. And the other thing is that we can now use this. We're going to use a new system to populate everybody's training. So whether you get an individualized program or personal training from one of our trainers here, it'll all be on the same system. So I have a client who's trying to get their pull-ups and has been on training with me for 6 weeks. Still doesn't have pull-up, but probably should. I can then say, Jonny, can you go into our system and look at X's program and suggest? Or I can ask Liam the same thing, or Fraser, or whoever, and we can collaborate and make every client's service better and more wholesome. And therefore, by using the functional fitness group as a banner for every single person that works here, we can push the same message.
Yep.
So only one program is going to be done here. Fact. Nobody is going to come in here and do anything but functional fitness.
That's it.
A program by us. Why? Because we can't guarantee a result from something that we didn't prescribe. So we are going to ultimately use our own program. We have started writing it again.
Yep.
We are going to give the next level of progression for those people who want to do it, again, prescribed by us. And it's about creating something that's bigger than you or I or anyone else. But if we all came together and built the same thing, we have the best minds in the area. Fact. I would say it's fact.
I'd say so.
And if we collaborate in building a program that's suitable for everybody and has all of the avenues for somebody who might want to be sports specific, someone who might want to compete in CrossFit, someone who might just want to do weekend competitions, or somebody who just wants to get a little bit fitter and lose some weight.
Yep.
Collaborating, we can definitely provide the best service for everybody. And that's the way that we wanted to move forward.
Yep.
Which is unfortunately brought about that we've lost a couple of really, really good people on the way. Yeah. Which makes it which is really sad. And you know, they've been fantastic for us, and you know, really good people who I feel I would regard them as friends.
Yep.
You know, really nice people. But ultimately, what we've got to do is we've got to think. You know, we've been forced into making some changes because of COVID.
Yeah.
So it's how do we press forward?
Yeah.
I
think also like when we kind of made this realization that you know, we knew it but we didn't know it. It was like, you know, we weren't all quite operating in the way that we envisaged, in the way that we actually saw it going. And I think like the COVID hitting, for all it's bad, has brought some good in a sense that it's essentially shown us the way that we think we need to go down for the future. And I think that we would have maybe realised this 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the line somewhere, that this is probably the way forwards. And it was, and I think, and we and the team now believe in this way, which is the functional fitness way, the functional fitness group way of operating. I think that will, you know, for you guys as well, like obviously it's going to be important for you guys to understand and know what you're coming into when you come back. Now, on the face of things, not much will change. It's not going to be like, you know, you're going to come in and everything's going to be so different. You know, we're still using Wadify. Classes will still be taken in the main rooms, etc. All that stuff will go on. But there will be some procedural changes and things that you might notice that are a little bit different. Do you want to talk about them now? Or
So we'll maybe kind of dive into a couple, but not go too far in, because we want to do maybe a more official release on some of that sort of data. But the groups will stay. You already know that.
Yep.
We have reshuffled the groups. You know, sometimes quite difficult, but you know, like for example, the people in my group I love, but we've moved those over to somebody who's dedicated to servicing them, where I'm not dedicated to servicing them, although I really, really want to, and I want to grab hold of the people in that group and just keep them forever, because you know, ultimately I really like them all, and I feel like I could give them a really good service, but ultimately I actually can't. In between, all this the family stuff, all that sort of stuff. But everybody's got that.
Sure.
But we look at trying to do a new website, trying to arrange potentially another premises within the next 12 to 18 months. Yeah,
you wouldn't believe that, would you, in this moment in time? But that's what we're shooting for. Exactly,
and why press on with it, even though we're kind of struggling? We press on with it. You know, I feel that that's our vision.
Yeah.
Our vision was to have multiple premises.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to do, and we are going to press towards that. We are looking at branching out into taking more sports teams. We are going to look at pressing more into a corporate zone.
Yeah.
But we need to have people dedicated to that, which is us, and making sure that we're steadying the ship financially, to make sure that when we come back in, we know, right, we need to have 83 more members by September. Or we're in a loss again, in a loss.
Yeah.
So we're the ones that are actually looking at that and projecting forward, while all the while the team are really doing all the operations of the business and starting to get that to run like clockwork again.
I think from my perspective, I think I definitely felt that with my team. Like my team probably felt that too in a sense, which I wasn't quite happy with. But you know, like it kind of starts off and it's like it's all about the groups, and when you start diving into the business side of things and starting to see, right, okay, actually we should make it out of this, but we've got a lot of work to do, to get in a place where we're back to where we were, and then of course better than what we were. And the only way to do that is to kind of put the focus in the right places by the right people. So like I love my group, but for the same reasons as Jesus described, that's why we've handed them over and moved them on. So yeah, that was a kind of you know, it's a hard realization though, because I am guilty of trying to take on too much, and 75 ideas are going on in my head, and trying to action them all is really difficult, and you can't do it. And I think it probably takes a little bit of the guidance of you, Graham, and Fraser, keeping me in the right straight and narrow to not try and look to do too much. So giving up the group and allowing us to focus on what needs to be done for the business to keep it afloat and move it forward. Critical.
Yeah, and steadying the ship. So we've kind of carried that philosophy through for when we do get open. Yes, things are going to change in terms of logistics of a class. You know, you can't hang around in the gym, for example. You know, it'll literally be an in-out. It'll literally only be for class for now. And there'll be potentially slots to come in and do your individualized program that you get from one of our coaches, or to come in and do a little bit of your own thing, but there'll be specific slots throughout the day for that, rather than a kind of a free-for-all. There'll be, in Dundee, for example, there will be a room that's just dedicated to personal training. That's the only thing that goes on in there. Nothing else goes on in there apart from that. And again, it's better service for the people who are paying the premium rate for the service at that moment in time. So, you know, there's going to be lots of kind of logistical sort of changes, but essentially we want to get back. We now have this functional fitness group vision that was our original vision, but we've just kind of digressed from it. We're now bringing that back, refocusing. Ultimately, we're going to provide a better service. It's simple fact for our members. But that's going to start to taper out, and it means that, likes of what we just talked about, trying to maybe do too many things at once, we're going to home in on exactly what we do. We're going to do functional fitness, and we're going to do that well. And we're not going to add any new services at all for 6 months to a year. We're not even going to think of it. We're literally going to focus on doing what we do and do it well. Make that a little bit better, make it a little bit better. Right, okay, great, we're on to a good thing. Then we could think about adding one more thing. And so on and so forth. So that the message is very, very clear from a member's point of view, what we're trying to achieve, what we're here for, how you can get the extra help that you need, who you go to for the extra help, and how it's done, and how it's managed centrally. So that everybody is getting a good service. And that takes us to where we are today, which is still
not open.
Still not open, but I've been doing bits and pieces from the gym to run away. And
I painted that wall, just this one.
as a backdrop for this lovely podcast / video. But we hope to get open soon. My thoughts lie that it still does lie in July that we do get open. But I think it's just a conservative of, let's see what happens with England opening their gyms on Monday, that's what they expect. In fact, the announcement's probably already been while we were filming this. So
saying that the gyms
English gyms are meant to be open on Monday, I think. It's see how that goes for a couple of weeks, and then let us open. So I reckon 3 weeks' time we're open. And we will be ready, and we are excited to have you back. And there will be a phased return, making sure that we reward the people who could stay. It's a difficult process. But
that was a cool idea, and I think everyone in the team agreed with that was the right way to go. Definitely. But again, we do need to say that it's not a punishment. So like, in the same way that Graham said, we are rewarding those that stayed. By that same token, we are not punishing those that didn't. There's a number of reasons why we're doing our phased return, and I think the most important one is safety, is making sure that we can operate in a safe manner, no matter what, with smaller numbers, and then we can add the next phase and the next phase, and then it's already been spoken about. And then we know that if we're operating safely and we can operate well, then we can kind of increase the volume, so to speak. And then at such time that we're allowed to kind of no longer use boxes and all social distancing and stuff like that, then we can crack on as normal.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to do. We sat and talked about this process for a number of hours over our management meeting. I think that one went on for about 4 hours, that chat.
Actually did, yeah.
How best to get people back? So, option A, you get told it's the 27th, everyone comes back. Absolute carnage. People queuing out the door, not able to get into classes, not getting the kit wiped down on time, and classes running behind. Chaos. Just couldn't happen.
That reminds me of like almost what we were before.
Oh yeah, exactly. So chaos. Could not happen. So how do you do it? Right, you've now got 25% of the members you had.
Sure.
let's operate some safe classes with them.
Yeah.
Let's get the procedures down for a week and then let some people back.
Yeah.
So we figured the only way to reasonably do that was to take it in segments. Okay, so the people who held on the longest, or because they could or would, that's unfortunately it's not our place to dictate whether you could or would have kept your gym membership.
Or why you didn't.
All we can do is think, what's the best way for us to bring people back?
Yeah.
Steady, phased way, so that it wasn't going to be too busy too early. I hope that we do get too busy, but it's in a manner that's going to be safe, and so that we can make sure our procedures were decent before we moved into full-scale operations again. And then hopefully a few weeks down the line, social distancing will be potentially reduced in our sector, and we can start to move around the room more freely.
Yeah, and just bring things back to the way that we envisage it going, which is going to be, for me, pretty exciting. I'm really on. I mean, obviously I'm on board with it, but it's the way that we should have had it a long time ago. And it's like I said, it's taken something like COVID to almost like have that realization and actually force us to implement it.
Absolutely, yeah. I have never been more excited about getting back to work and working on this vision, because I know it's right. Yep. I know it's the best for the people that come here, to get them the results they want, to give them the service that we feel that we can give them and they need, and the benefit is going to be there. I've never been more excited to get back after it. Yeah,
likewise, definitely. Yeah.
And that's probably a good place to leave it. And we will get back after it very, very soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on, we're nearly there.
Yeah, guys, just hold on, hold the line. Hold the line. Yeah, guys, and I think we just said as well that we'll go ahead and probably do one next week as well. We'll probably try and keep this going for...
We're going to do another one next week.
Yeah, don't know what we're going to discuss
yet.
Not
on COVID, because I'm sick of talking about it.
Sick of talking about it, sick of hearing about it. Yeah, 100%. Okay, guys, listen, thanks for joining us. Hopefully we didn't sort of babble on too long. And if you have any questions about anything that we've discussed, feel free to hit us up on a personal level. Feel free to hit us up at the via email, info@fftcrossfit.com or info@ffsa.co.uk. Yeah, all good.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll be back with the Functional Fitness Podcast.
Boom.
Next week.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.